Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah alladhi nawwara qulub al-arifina bi nuri ma'rifatih wa athbata fu'ada anbiya'ihi wa awliya'ihi bi qasas al-anbiya'i wal mursalin wa akmala iman al-muslimina wal mu'minin bi wilayati aliyyin namir al-mu'minina alayhi salam.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Wassalatu wassalam wa tahiyyatu wal ikram ala afdalil mawjudat al-abdil mu'ayyad wal rasulil musaddad al-mustafa al-mujad al-mahmud al-ahmad a'ni abul qasim Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Wa ala ruhihi wa nafsihi wa sahrihi wa wasiyyih Sayyid al-Atqiya wal Asfiya Maula al-Mawali Imam al-Muttaqin Ali ibn Abi Talib.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Wa ala awsiyaihi la siyama baqiyatullah fil aladin wa ruhi wa arwahul alamin li turabi maqdamihi al-fida wal la'natu ad-da'imatu ala a'da'ihi majma'in min al-ana ila qiyam yawm ad-din. أما بعد فقد قال صاحب الزمان عليه الصلاة والسلام
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
وأما من كان من الفقهاء سائلا لنفسه حافظا لدينه مخالفا لهواه مطيعا لأمر مولاه فللعوام أن يقلدوه. صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Last week we talked about Ijtihad, and this week we will talk about Taqleed. Ijtihad itself, the definition we gave last week of Taqleed, literally it means to follow someone. In fact, Qalada is the right word in Arabic, from which the word Taqleed has been derived from. And that means chains. To put the chain of your action in the neck of another person, meaning give him the responsibility that I will practice according to your understanding, and you have the responsibility of my action. And many words have become terminologies, and they do not only have just one meaning, they don't have just a literal meaning, they have a terminological meaning. And as a terminology, Taqleed is to follow an expert, qualified mujtahid or an expert in all matters of wajibat, obligations, muharramat, in the things which are forbidden, all the recommendations and all the discouragements. And that's what's called taqleed in terminology. Today we would like to talk about some of the proofs on the word taqleed. We have given you a verse from Surah Tawbah that also indicates upon ijtihad. And if ijtihad is a wajib kifai, if we all remember wajib taqleed and wajib kifai from last week, an obligation of choice is wajib taqleed, and wajib kifai is an obligation that if some people fulfill it, then others do not have to fulfill it. Ijtihad is an obligation which is wajib kifai, but taqleed is not wajib kifai. Taqleed is wajib aini if you are not a mujtahid and you cannot do ihtiyat, if you cannot follow precaution. Even after studying many years, many people do not become mujtahideen, they do not become experts, they do not qualify. So what do? They sometimes learn so much so that they can follow precaution. If you remember last week we gave you examples, what are the places where you do precaution? If you remember the example of qasr and tamam, we said, where do you do the shortened prayers and where do you do the full prayers? Does everyone remember that? No one got it right. Yes? Even places of ihtiyat are not commonly known by all people. And the higher you go, the more you go, the deeper you go in the Shia jurisprudence, the more difficult it becomes to follow precaution. And many times it is not feasible for many people. A person, for example, like myself, who is living in a country where it is very difficult to follow precaution, I try to follow precaution some time back, and I had to come back to Taqleed. It was easier, much easier to do Taqleed, to follow a mujtahid, an expert, than to follow precaution. It becomes very difficult because of the travelings and because of so many things and the interactions that we have. So it is better to just follow an expert. The biggest proof for Taqleed itself is intellect and is logic. Why? Because in our daily life, we always refer to experts. No one says that, I have some pain in my hand, so I'm going to cut my hand open and see what's inside. You always refer to an expert, a medical expert. And you ask them, I have pain, I have severe pain in my hand. What do you think it is? And they would probably say, okay, this is what's wrong, this is a medicine, this is what you need to do. And you follow them. Do you understand what they say? Do you understand the medicine? Do you know the medicine?
No.
And many times they may even differ with each other. I have gone through serious health problems some years back, and the doctors had different opinions on what should I do. In fact, when I had decided to go for the surgery, there was a doctor who just was passing by and said, you seem like a very young person. What are you in for in the surgical ward? I said, I'm waiting for surgery. He said, don't you think you should get a second opinion? Even though he was himself a doctor and he knew that his colleagues were seeing me, some experts were seeing me, I had, best consultants. But even then they wanted a second opinion because mistakes can be made. They're not infallible. The fuqaha are not infallible. Infallibles are only the imams, okay? So the ayatullahs are not infallible. They may make mistakes. But what do? Do you think because they may make mistakes, will you not follow them? Do you do that with the doctors?
No.
We never do that with the doctors. Logic says, when you don't know, then refer to the ones who do know. فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. This verse is only revealed for the infallible imams, the Holy Prophet's progeny. Ask those who know if you do not know. Yes? فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. And it also applies for Taqleed. If you don't know, then you follow an expert. Making a house, you need an engineer. Yes? You need an architect. You need some laborers. Even though they may not be, they may not go through qualification, but because they are skilled and you are not, you cannot just start saying, okay, I'll get the bricks, I'll get the sand, I'll get the cement, I'll get the things that are needed, and let's start making the house. You always refer to experts. So the logical basis, I'll give you a few of the verses from the Holy Quran. I've given you already two verses. One from Surah Tawbah, verse number 122, and and the other one is ayah فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ, very famous ayah. I think it is in Surah Dariyat, but I'm not sure at the moment. So another verse from the Holy Quran that refers to Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, ask those who know, meaning refer to the experts. Now, the other proof that I want to give you is the two ahadith, famous ahadith. One that I chose, it is more famous than it is from the 11th Imam al-Islam, and I said it is from the 12th Imam al-Islam. The famous hadith is from Al-Ihtijaj of Tabarsi, which goes back 700-800 years ago, and the hadith, it says, وَأَمَّا مَنْ كَانَ مِنَ الْفُقَهَاءِ سَائِلًا لِنَفْسِهِ حَافِظًا لِدِينِهِ مُخَالِفًا لِهَوَاهُ مُطِيعًا لِأَمْرِ مَوْلَى فَلِلْأَوَامِ أَنْ يُقَلِّدُوهُ. The word taqleed has been used here. Okay? The Imam al-Islam, the 11th Imam says that as for the fuqaha, now anyone who is an expert in fiqh, and that's why we call the ayatullahs faqih or fuqaha, an expert in fiqh or jurisprudence. As for the jurists, the translation in English, as for the jurists, man kana, min al-fuqaha sa'inan li nafsihi, who protects